Remember, in 1955, there were no computers. I asked myself, how can a government force several 100 million literate Chinese to learn 2,000 new rules to simplify the 5,000 characters they already know? First of all, the laws applied mainly to publishers. They had to learn the rules and make new fonts. Once the new fonts were made, they did not have to memorize all the rules. They just had to publish everything, newspapers, books, etc., using the new fonts. All the teaching material for grade school through high school was republished using the new fonts, and every new student had to learn from the new textbooks. Very quickly, within a few short years, every printed object in the country was in simplified Chinese. The average person at the time did not have to learn to write simplified Chinese. They only had to learn to read simplified Chinese, which was not that difficult. Because if you were literate in traditional Chinese, you could guess at most of the simplified Chinese characters. The teachers did not have to actually memorize all the rules. They just had to be able to read the simplified Chinese and teach out of the book. After a few years, everyone can recognize the new characters. After a couple of decades, every young adult knew how to write simplified Chinese, but could barely read traditional Chinese. By the 80s, people were beginning to use computers, and in 1980, the first computer character list was implemented. It became the de facto standard. In 1980, the computer standard, GB 2312-1980, had 6,763 simplified characters. This was kind of a default list of simplified characters. Since the people were becoming computer literate and their computers were originally limited to this set of computer characters. In 1988, the common character list was updated. The 1988 list has 7,000 simplified characters, the Xindai Hanyu Changyong Zibiao, or the modern Chinese common use character list. The 2,500 most common characters were used as a standard for basic literacy. The 1,000 second most common characters used were a common standard for adult literacy. There were also 3,000 less common characters. As of 2022, although there is a 2013 standard list, the 1988 list still seems to be the usual standard. In 2013, the list was updated to its current standard. The 2013 list has 8,105 simplified characters, the Tongyong Guifan Hanzibiao, or Common Use Range Chinese Character List. There are 3,500 common characters, 3,000 less common characters, and 1,605 rare characters. This is a 1988 list of 7,000 characters, which as of 2021 is the usual default standard. If you are a publisher, you will have to follow the above rules when publishing books or periodicals. With the advent of computers, things became a bit more flexible and at the same time more complicated. This is a process of how we went from traditional to simplified characters. You don't have to memorize this entire process. In fact, it is rather complicated. The discussion is only to show you how complicated the process really is.